It began with a single drop of orange juice, small, harmless, accidental. But sometimes the most minor things reveal the darkest truths. When a flight attendant accidentally spilled juice on a black woman sitting in first class, the cabin went quiet. The look that followed wasn't one of apology, it was disgust, as if the woman didn't belong there. Passengers glanced, whispers began, and humiliation burned beneath her calm expression. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't demand attention. But there was something in her eyes, a quiet power. What the flight attendant didn't know was that the woman she'd just disrespected wasn't just a passenger. She was an inspector for the Federal Aviation Administration, and what happened next would shake the airline to its core. Watch until the end. Wait a second. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more powerful stories like this. Samantha Johnson had spent her life proving she belonged in the sky. From her first aviation class at 21 to becoming one of the FAA's youngest air safety inspectors, her journey was filled with late nights, endless exams, and the constant weight of being the only black woman in the room. Her job required her to fly often, sometimes unnoticed, sometimes intentionally discreet, to evaluate airline crews and service quality without revealing her role. On that morning, Samantha was traveling from Dallas to New York for an unannounced audit. She wore a crisp cream blazer, a soft scarf, and a calm smile, the kind of quiet confidence built from years of experience. The boarding gate buzzed with business travelers. When her group was called, she stepped forward, passport and ticket ready. But the attendant at the counter hesitated. Her smile faltered when she saw Samantha's first-class ticket. "Ma'am, this is the first-class line," the attendant said, her tone laced with disbelief. Samantha handed over her ticket and said nothing. It wasn't the first time. It wouldn't be the last. She took her seat. 2A, window side, calm, professional. But this flight, unlike any before, would test her restraint, her dignity, and her power in ways she'd never imagined. The plane lifted smoothly through the Texas clouds, sunlight spilling through the cabin windows. Samantha opened her laptop and quietly reviewed reports. The flight attendant, a woman named Karen, mid-30s, polished, with a smile that never reached her eyes, moved down the aisle serving drinks. When she reached Samantha, she stopped. "Would you like water or juice?" "Orange juice, please," Samantha replied softly. Karen handed the cup, but as she turned, it tipped. A stream of cold juice splashed across Samantha's cream blazer, staining it instantly. Gasps filled the air. "Oh, my God," Karen said flatly, with a tone that carried no apology. "You should be careful." Samantha froze. "Careful?" she repeated quietly, her voice steady. Karen crossed her arms. "You bumped the cup." But the other passengers saw the truth. The flight had been smooth, no turbulence, no sudden movement, just carelessness and arrogance. Samantha reached for a napkin and dabbed the juice calmly. Karen walked away without another word. A man across the aisle whispered, "Unbelievable." A woman behind muttered, "If that were me, I'd demand her fired." But Samantha didn't. She opened her laptop again, though her heart pounded. Years of quiet endurance had taught her not to react, because reaction often became justification in the eyes of others. Moments later, Karen returned, smiling politely at the white passengers beside her, offering them complimentary snacks and wine. But when she reached Samantha's row again, her tone hardened. "Ma'am, I'll need you to keep your laptop closed during beverage service." Samantha looked up. "I was told—" "I said now," Karen interrupted sharply, loud enough for others to hear. Every eye turned. The humiliation deepened. Samantha exhaled slowly and closed her laptop. Her jaw tightened. Inside, the FAA inspector in her took mental notes, crew behavior, service protocol violations, unprofessional conduct, bias indicators. She had seen prejudice before, but never this blatant, this public, this demeaning. And Karen had no idea who she was dealing with. An hour later, as the flight descended toward New York, the captain's voice broke through the speakers. "Crew, prepare for landing." Karen came by for final checks, still avoiding eye contact. Samantha calmly took out her ID badge and placed it on her lap. When Karen stopped by her row, Samantha looked up and spoke quietly but firmly. "Before we land, I need your full name and crew number." Karen frowned. "Excuse me?" Samantha turned the badge slightly so the Federal Aviation Administration's golden seal caught the light. "FAA Inspection Division," she said evenly. "This flight, including cabin conduct, is under review." Karen's face drained of color. The fake politeness vanished. She stammered. I didn't know." "That's the point," Samantha interrupted. "You're not supposed to." Passengers nearby watched silently, realization dawning. The woman she'd mocked and humiliated was the one with authority to evaluate her entire performance, an authority that reached beyond apologies. Karen's hands trembled as she scribbled her name on a notepad. Her confident posture collapsed into visible fear. Samantha took the paper without another word. When the plane landed, the captain himself came out to greet Samantha after hearing what had happened. His voice shook as he apologized on behalf of the airline. But Samantha only nodded. She wasn't there for apologies. She was there for accountability. 2 weeks later, an internal FAA report circulated across major airlines. It detailed a confirmed case of discriminatory conduct aboard Flight 726, citing violations of service ethics, bias in treatment, and unprofessional crew behavior. The airline faced an official audit, and Karen, once confident in her untouchable politeness, was suspended pending investigation. For the first time, accountability had a name attached. Samantha didn't speak publicly about the event. She never needed to. Her silence was louder than any press release. She continued her work, visiting airports, inspecting flight crews, enforcing the policies that so many dismissed as technical. But every time she boarded a plane, she carried that day with her. The day a flight attendant's prejudice revealed itself through spilled juice and careless words. And she also carried something else. Quiet pride, not for revenge but for restraint, because the real strength wasn't in retaliation, it was in exposing the truth through professionalism, intelligence, and grace. Months later, a new training policy was introduced across multiple airlines, mandatory cultural sensitivity and anti-bias programs for all flight staff. Inspired directly by her report, change came, slowly but surely. As for Samantha, she looked out from her next flight, watching the clouds roll beneath her, the hum of the engines soft and steady. She smiled faintly, knowing that for every person like Karen, there were dozens now being trained to do better, to be better, and maybe that was the first step toward a sky where everyone truly belonged. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and country in the comments below. Take care.